So, Doctor Who has been continuing filming for the historical 60s episode over the last few days, specifically in Cardiff as far as I can tell. There's not too much additional to report. However, the lovely folks over at Doctor Who Filming Locations, or folk in particular, has been reporting, because they've been going to the set, that there's been some more evidence of some Beatles connections in the upcoming episodes. Apparently, one of the film sets was done up on a rooftop, implying that it could be being done up to represent the performance of the Beatles at Savile Row in January of 1969. So yeah, this seems to be what Clifton College was done up like with the piano, and you can see it's very similar to Abbey Road Studio 2, which is where the Beatles recorded their stuff. Ncuti Gatwa has been posing for pictures with various people, including Alec Green here, as well as Doctor Who Filming Locations earlier on. Apparently as well, Doctor Who Filming Locations, they said it was episode 2 that was filming right now, apparently. Apparently they said they saw 4 actors that resembled the Beatles as well. Just seen 2 actors leave the set in cast cars, very much giving off the vibe like they could be someone from the Beatles, might be way off, but the vibe and hair was right. So it could possibly be that there is more of a Beatles connection in the 60s episode, which is pretty interesting. Let me just see if there's anything else I want to cover. There was this call that went out ages ago, 25th of May. Creative casting are urgently looking for professional clown for upcoming filming, 30th of May to 2nd of June. No idea what that's for. I assume, Series 14 so far, feels very theatrical. It feels like there's a lot of musical stuff and I think maybe if it's urgent, perhaps it could be for 60th reshoots, but I'm not sure. I could be completely off base there. They mention in the edition of Doctor Who magazine in May, I think, that on Tuesday the 4th of April, Jen and I discussed legends of local clowns. So maybe it's for Series 14 or maybe it's for, I'm not actually sure what it's for. But there was lots of jokes from Doctor Who Twitter when that happened. I think that's about it in terms of filming. Like I said, there hasn't been a ton, but we did have this very recently. So some of you may remember way back when, years ago, I think late 2021, shortly after Stephen Moffat, Russell T Davies was announced to be returning. That's the next showrunner, don't worry, we haven't got there yet, spoilers and all that. When Russell T Davies was announced to be taking over, a couple months later, you may remember, a company was filed by Bad Wolf. It was incorporated in 2021 called WHONIVERSE 1 LTD. I did a whole video on this back in the day. And you can see here, overview, it says here, Wolf Studios, incorporated 2nd of November 2021. You can see here, a bunch of different people, Jaden Tranter being one of them. So yeah, it seems as though a second WHONIVERSE company has been incorporated. It was incorporated on 3rd of May 2023. What's interesting about that is that that was when the rumoured unit spin-off was set to be heading for pre-production. Now, I'm not a big company tax filing expert. Apparently this could just be down to tax filing reasons. Having separate companies makes it easier. I'm not sure how that all works. If I've got any financial experts in the chat, feel free to let me know. But as far as I know, Bad Wolf have incorporated companies for other shows, such as His Dark Materials and etc. But this is the first time I believe they've incorporated 2 companies, which to me does sort of suggest, and I could be wrong, especially given the name of WHONIVERSE, that one company or one WHONIVERSE, so to speak, will cover the main show, and maybe one will cover associated spin-offs such as potentially the Unit 1 and maybe a few others. We know for a fact that Series 15 scripts are in pre-production, so perhaps that's what this is in preparation for as well. I'm not sure. I just find it interesting that a second WHONIVERSE has been established, a company called WHONIVERSE has been established, and I think that could be more of an indication of spin-offs on the way, because this didn't happen like under Chibnall's Doctor Who. This is only a Bad Wolf thing, and this to me does sort of feel like they're getting the infrastructure in place for spin-off. That's how it reads to me. Perhaps that's, me reading too much into it. Perhaps that's me kind of projecting because I want to see spin-offs. But I don't know, it just feels weird to have these WHONIVERSE companies all set up if we're not having spin-offs. Although apparently some people are saying that each series of a show tends to have its own separate company. So maybe it is just for Series 15, I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Watching you while I clean my mum's bathroom, that's the best place to watch. This is sounding more focused on the Beatles than I initially expected. Yeah, it's a weird one. Like, I remember a lot of people saying when they were doing the Abbey Road scenes that, like, it was largely going to be like a kind of fun gimmicky thing. Like, oh, we'll have some scenes of them touring the sites of Abbey Road and all of this stuff, but the majority of the episode won't be to do with them. However, if, you know, there's things to do with, like, where they've filmed for music and where they've had, like, concerts and things like that in the episodes, as there might seem to be, as well as potentially actors playing the Beatles as well, it could be more kind of involved on their end than we expected, which I wouldn't mind, you know? I mean, there's been a lot of rumours about a musical episode, and I feel like if there is going to be one, then I feel like incorporating a musical kind of set of historical figures would make sense. I didn't think the Beatles as characters were actually going to appear, but now they definitely seem to be very exciting. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they're handled, because typically when it comes to, like, historical figures, at least with RTD, they seem to be more comedic in tone. You know, I'm thinking, you know, Queen Victoria, kind of Shakespeare. They seem to be lighter interpretations of these historical figures. Whereas you get someone like Vincent, and Vincent is portrayed kind of, at least to my mind, very sort of openly. And obviously it's not going to be 100% accurate to the man himself, but it seemed pretty close, or as close as you could get in a kid's show, to Vincent van Gogh. Whereas with a lot of the RTD historicals, I always felt they were a bit more comedic in tone and a bit like lighter. So could that be the case with the Beatles? Or maybe they'll go more, I don't know, in depth with them. It'll be interesting to see that.